Today on the show, we're holding down Alt, Shift, and X
Woo.
on our keyboards.
That's like cutting with formatting? What does that do?
I actually don't know what that shortcut is for.
It's a mystery.
Wait, it's a Oh no. Do you know what it does?
That's for me to know and for y'all to discover.
Ooh, he's coy.
I guess you'll just have to go and press Alt-Shift-X
What
on
a
every different
tease.
program to see what happens.
Fine, you know what? I'm going to click it. Alt, Shift.
Oh, I deleted the mainframe. Oh, no.
Just delete System 32. It actually transfers all of your money into my bank accounts. It's this little macro I got figured out.
Oh, Alt. Oh,
I have
damn
all
it.
of your crypto now.
Oh, my Ethereum or whatever.
I've stolen your Bored Apes. It's the perfect crime.
They're so high.
I've derailed us already.
And wearing hats.
I had such huge plans for my Dogecoin, and now it's all...
Welcome to Gom Jabbar, your guide to the iconic world of Dune. We'll be exploring the themes, philosophies, and characters found in the sandy depths of this vast universe, from Frank Herbert's groundbreaking novels to the adaptations on film and TV. My name is Leo.
And my name's Abu.
Oh, and today on the show, we are going to be talking about our favorite quotes in Dune.
Yeah.
But we're also going to be joined by a very, very special guest.
Yes.
In a minute.
Yes, we'll introduce them very shortly.
Before we open the tall double doors and they come through with their heralded music playing loudly, we have to make Shout Out Mapes proud. So let's take care of our housekeeping.
Yes. Okay, first up in housekeeping, folks. Y'all know the drill. Spoiler warning for today's episode. In today's conversation with our very special guest, we will be taking the entire Dune saga into consideration. So be warned.
Yeah.
That there will be spoilers for all 6 novels by Frank Herbert and the wider Dune canon.
Yeah, if only there was like a YouTube channel somewhere you could go to learn about the sequels of the Dune canon. Anyway, too bad.
If only.
If only. Now, as always, a giant, huge, massive thank you to our Quisatz Hatterack level patrons, Daniel Dion, Seth Redengreer, Brad Hutchins, which is written Bard Hutchins in the script, and Kevin Mohenram. Guys, whether or not your names are spelled right, doesn't matter. We appreciate you.
Indeed.
Your support literally makes these sorts of collaborative episodes possible. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And of course, that thank you extends to all of our patrons at every level. Any amount you give is just, it means the world to us. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And Brad, if you are a bard, roll that D20 and drop some sick beats, bro.
Oh, hell yeah. Bardic inspiration on our recording session.
Oh, man. I'm inspired. Of course, our heartfelt thank yous and our gratitude extend to all of our patrons at every level. You all truly build the foundation upon which this show runs. But also, a quick reminder that if you're feeling some subscription fatigue lately, like we all are these days, that's completely A-okay. We understand.
Mm-hmm.
Check out the link in the show notes for Buy Me a Coffee, where you can leave us a one-time tip as a way to show your appreciation for the show and to help us continue to pay the bills and create incredibly fun episodes like today's.
Indeed. Now, speaking of today's episode, here's the game plan. Oh, we are being joined. Okay, Abu, let's open the doors. Big doors.
Here's the moment.
Open up. They open and the music starts playing in the background. Yep. And in through the doors comes the ambassador from Planet YouTube. Alt-Shift-X himself. Oh my God. Hello, welcome to the show.
G'day. Hi. Thank you for the grand entrance. This is amazing. I'm stoked to be here.
Oh, we're stoked to have you. Looks like you brought an entourage of drop bears. Is that am I saying that right?
A few drop bears, and they are all infused with spice melange
to help us. Drop bears. Good Lord.
Yeah, no, it's hard to get away from a prescient drop bear, but we'll manage. We'll do it. We will learn to ride the drop bear and traverse Arrakis. It'll be fantastic.
Give me my maker hooks. I'm riding this drop bear. Spectacular. Well, you're joining us today. We're going to be talking to Alt-Shift-X, who is a phenomenal YouTuber. He's got a great YouTube channel covering all sorts of great sci-fi goodness, as well as fantasy and fiction, generally talking about all sorts of
great Game of Thrones coverage.
Game of Thrones coverage is top tier, so cool. And we decided, hey, if we're going to talk to Alt-Shift-X about everything Dune, let's get creative. Let's talk about quotes, the best quotes in the Dune series, all 6 books. Let's bring it to the table and let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So naturally, we all wanted to talk about Fear is the Mind Killer. It's the worst quote in Dune. Stop saying it's the best. We're avoiding the super heavy-handed, obvious quotes. And instead, we're kind of digging deep, things that are resonant personally and things that really stuck out for us as individual readers.
That's right. Okay, before we get into all of that, let's take a quick break. Let's compose ourselves. When we come back to your listener, we're getting into some of our favorite deep cut quotes in the Dune universe with Alt-Shift-X.
We have to corral the drop bears. they're so fast.
They're hungry.
Oh. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed your break. Stay out from underneath the trees. Again, drop bears, deadly and real. Let's kick this off with Alt. I'd love to hear maybe a quote that you've pulled from Dune that you consider one of your favorites. Let's talk about it. Love to hear what you brought.
Yeah, sure. I chose a quote from early on in the first book, which I think captures something, a theme that Frank has throughout all of his writing, which is curiosity and discovery.
Yeah.
So early on in the first Dune book, Paul reads from the Orange Catholic Bible. And it's funny because Dune is very suspicious of religion, but the religious text in the series, the Orange Catholic Bible, is full of real wisdom, and the characters draw something real from this holy book. And so the quote is, "Think you of the fact that a deaf person cannot hear, then what deafness may we not all possess? What senses do we lack that we cannot see and cannot hear another world all around us? What is there around us that we cannot?" And then he gets cut off.
Yeah, what a great quote.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
So I think this reflects Frank's love of discovery and love of learning, and his belief that there is always something beyond what we think we know. Dune is very much about the limits of knowledge, and Frank strongly believed that it's impossible to ever really know everything, and learning is a continual adventure exploring the new and the new and the new. And that reflects, I think, a lot of Frank's real life. The author, Frank Herbert, was a journalist, and he also explored spirituality, including Zen Buddhism. He had experiences with psychedelic drugs. He had some paranormal beliefs in extrasensory perception and astrology.
Yeah.
And this is during the psychedelic 60s. And so, you can see all these influences in this idea that there is a world beyond ordinary perception. And I think Frank's favorite moments in his life are those moments of sudden understanding and sudden revelation and a transcendental experience of expanding your consciousness. And so his fiction is full of those moments. And I think every Dune book has a moment where, Jessica has the spice agony, or Paul has his visions, or Teg turns into the Flash, or there's a moment of sudden understanding, a eureka moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Teg's I just fucking realized y'all are slow as fuck.
It's exactly like the moment in The Matrix when Neo just gains the ability to see the code of the Matrix.
Right.
He peers beyond the veil, and that unlocks a new understanding. And so, that feeling and that moment, I think Frank was addicted to it. He loved it. And so it's all over his fiction, the love of discovering something truly new that changes your perspective.
That's so interesting. I love, I don't know that I'd ever put it together, that there are those kind of enlightened moments in each of the books. Naturally, the whole story is about, among many other things as well, the capabilities of humanity and what happens at the breaking point, Amtal. What happens when you push something to its limit, and then the true nature of it is revealed, and what is truth, and what are words, and what is perception, and what are the stories we tell about ourselves. But That's so fascinating. I feel like I need to revisit the 6 books now, thinking about those revelatory moments, those moments of enlightenment for those different characters.
Yeah. What I find interesting is I think this is a thread that all 3 of us couldn't help but pull on, because I also have a quote about knowledge and this hunger for knowledge and Frank's message that seeking knowledge is one of the most noble things a person can do. And Leo, I noticed that one of your quotes also is about how words can never encapsulate the true human experience, and that there is a world beyond what we can quote unquote hear, right? Like, as this Orange Catholic Bible quote is stating, like, there is a world of this supernatural. There is an unexplainable magical universe that can't be quantified to some extent. It can't even be put into words to some extent. And it's clear from Frank's writings in the book, but also from interviews that Frank has done,
right,
that he believed in that. Like you're saying, Alt, he believed that there was more to the world than we are capable of understanding, and there is more to the world that is still worth understanding. And it's such a powerful message.
And there's a term for it. In the glossary, it's the alam al-mithal, the mystical world of similitudes where all physical limitations are removed.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That's my goal every morning. I'm like, listen, limitations, let's get rid of them. I just want to get there.
Yeah. On my second cup of coffee, I am entering the alam al-mithal. All physical limitations are removed.
So true.
Feel like Teg after that mind probe.
Yeah.
Just ready to just sprint at 60 miles an hour.
That's the third cup of coffee really gets that speed going. It's funny because as you were talking, I was also thinking about, you've seen, of course, that interview with McNelly where Frank talks about predicting the cards, right? It's clear he had those beliefs in that extrasensory, like, we don't have all of the answers. And there's a profound joy in seeking out those answers and admitting you don't have all of them. Yeah. It's great. So many wonderful threads there.
I agree. And I also think that there's a danger in opening your mind so much that your brain falls out, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Because true. I love the humility, this idea that there's always more to learn. But I think that Frank was sometimes overly dismissive of the idea of knowledge, and he was overly dismissive of the idea that there's ever any certainty and there's ever experts who know things about their area of speciality.
No, that's totally true.
Instance.
Yeah.
And I think it's possible that if we are always so open to like doubt and change and invisible worlds beyond, we might come to a few incorrect conclusions. And I think that, you know, some of Frank's wilder beliefs might have been wrong.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a danger in being overly enthusiastic about the mystical worlds, perhaps.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad you called that out. I actually, this segues really nicely into my first couple of quotes that I picked. So do we mind if we go to me next?
Yeah.
Go for it. Yeah.
So my quotes also have to do with knowledge and the seeking of knowledge. I wanted to pair 2 together that I think actually kind of complement each other.
Okay, like a tasting, like one's a Merlot, one's kind of
a flight of quotes.
Give me 4 small quotes.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to be in Paris next week, you know, for Leo's wedding, and so here's the two that I picked that I think pair nicely. A little cheese and wine action. The cheese is from Dune Messiah. Quote, "How easy it was to mistake clear reasoning for correct reasoning." End quote.
Yeah.
And then the wine that pairs so nicely with this is from Children of Dune.
Hit me with it.
This is Leto speaking in Children of Dune. Quote, "To claim absolute knowledge is to become monstrous. Knowledge is an unending adventure on the edge of uncertainty." End quote.
Beautiful.
And those really resonate with me, and I think they're relevant to the ideas we're talking about. Thanks to Alt's quote, these are lessons that I personally have taken from the Dune saga in my first reads of the book, in my rereads of the book, in the years we've been podcasting. These are lessons that I've continued to learn from this series, namely that I should always be doubting how much I know. I should always remember to be endlessly curious about the world around me. And then I should seek out the joy in the discovery, right? Learning something new, discovering something new, expanding my mind. There's joy in that. There's toil, certainly, right? There's hard work. Oftentimes there's roadblocks and frustration. but then there's the breakthrough moment, right? And there's the joy and the journey of all of that. And then I think on a wider sense, in a more, honestly, in a more political sense, to question anyone who does claim to have all the answers. That very much falls in line with Frank's warnings about charismatic leaders and institutions. And I mentioned it earlier, but I think this quote really goes along with Leo's quote about learning that he's going to share later.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge proponent of education and education reform. And I do think these lessons that Frank is imparting with quotes like this is some of the most important things that a good education can teach you. Great teachers and great mentors will teach you not answers. They will teach you to fall in love with learning and seeking out answers. They will teach you to understand that you will never know it all. And ideally, they'll be the people in your lives who light this flame of curiosity inside you that hopefully lasts you your entire lifetime. If a teacher or a mentor gives you those three things, they have given you invaluable gems that will like shine brightly for the rest of your life. If a teacher is just dumping answers into your brain, you are not getting much value out of that, at least according to Frank Herbert, but also in my personal opinion as well.
Yeah, naturally, as a child, you are drawn to certain subjects and not to others. But in retrospect, so much of it comes down to the instructor.
Yeah,
and it was only later, with the help of inquisitive friends, that I realized, oh yeah, chemistry is dope as hell. I thought it was like boring and memorizing weird little hexagons, but like turns out it's like kind of everything.
Were those inquisitive friends Walter White by any chance?
Yeah, it's about growth and decay, then transformation, I heard, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Once my friends really started delivering product, I was sold. I was, I was on
Chemistry
board.
rules.
Chemistry's the fucking best. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's that quality of even when I was being trained as a teacher, teaching classes, one of the most impactful lessons I learned as a teacher was to guide people into asking the right sorts of questions, rather than just handing them answers, rather than just showing them where to go, to reconnect it to familiar experience, and then to allow them to build up that scaffolding so they have a really strong base when they go and explore somewhere else. Yeah.
On that idea of knowledge as an unending adventure on the edge of uncertainty, it reminds me of an analogy that the author Frank Herbert used in interviews, where he talked about knowledge as being like a bubble or a balloon that is inflating and expanding. And as we learn more, we expand and we grow our knowledge. And so the surface of the balloon keeps expanding outwards. But as we learn more, we are more and more exposed to the unknown, like the outside of the balloon. The surface is more and more exposed to more unknown, what's outside and beyond our knowledge. And so the idea that no matter how much we learn, we're always more and more interacting with the unknown. And I love how Frank Herbert made this literal in the later Dune sequels with the scattering, where the universe expands outwards and humanity runs out into the universe and becomes a whole bunch of different things. And as a result of our literal physical expansion into the universe, humanity encounters more weird stuff, like the one of many faces and the cat people and the honored matre dominatrices. And so Frank Herbert took that bubble analogy and he made it literal by saying, if we physically go out there, we're gonna meet cat people. And it's going to be weird, you know? That's what good fiction should do, is it should take these abstract analogies and it should make them real in a way that we can really process. So I love that.
So well put.
I was just thinking today, as we were kind of gathering quotes, I was thinking about Heretics and Chapter 5 of Heretics, where you're on planet Tleilax for the first time. And what struck me on our like reread of the books as we're doing our book clubs was that Frank does seem to have sort of a sense as an author of the barometer of how much people feel like they're encountering the weird, right? When you read Dune for the first time, he is not kind. The first 100 pages are kind of awful. You've got Kwisatz Haderachs being thrown around. You've got like Bene Gesserit. Nothing's explained. You just kind of have to knuckle down, get through it.
Yeah.
But by book like 4, by God Emperor of Dune, you've seen some weird shit. So I feel like as a reader, you go, oh, okay, yeah, listen, I'm unshakable. I can't be shaken. That's not possible anymore. And then he's like, yeah, hold my spice beer. Let's put you on planet Tleilax, where they're like, no one in the Wecht of Jondala across all of the Powindas and it's like, what the fuck am I reading? What is this? And there's I think it's brilliant because, to your point, the universe is bigger now. And as it gets bigger, we as the reader get to experience stuff we've never encountered, even though we might have spent 2,000, 3,000 pages immersed in this environment.
Yeah.
It now feels alien, even though it's like the Tleilax who have been around, since the beginning. I love that idea. The expanding balloon, making herself vulnerable. He seems kind of an optimistic person, though, doesn't he? Like, I feel like his desire for us to expand into that unknown is he's not warning necessarily against that. He's warning against anything that would stop that from happening. So I do feel like he's pretty optimistic about what the future could hold, isn't he?
I think Frank has a lot of faith in humanity. Like, I think the one thing that Frank really believes in is the human mind and the human spirit and the ability of humanity to overcome whatever's going to challenge us. I love what you said about that chapter on Tleilax as well. I hadn't thought of it, but it really is like the same device as the early chapters of Dune. It is the same thing of throwing us into an unfamiliar place and throwing unfamiliar words at us. Because I think the whole Dune series is an exercise in getting the reader comfortable with not understanding things and being uncomfortable and confused. And Dune is an exercise in training us to face the unknown, which is the very message of the series. So yeah, it works really nicely.
So good.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Leo, how about we go to you next?
Sure.
I'd love to hear what quote you pulled that you wanted to share.
Happy to share the first one, and you already mentioned it, so I'll get this out of the way. The first quote I wanted to share is an epigraph from early in the first book. It's like the chapter 9 or something. But this epigraph really stuck with me. Like, I remember reading it and just being so moved by it and really it kind of sticking. So I felt this was an appropriate one to start on. Here's the quote. Quote, Muad'Dib learned rapidly because his first training was in how to learn. And the first lesson of all was the basic trust that he could learn. It is shocking to find how many people do not believe they can learn and how many more believe learning to be difficult. Muad'Dib knew that every experience carries its lesson. End quote.
Love that.
Dude, into my 30s, I'm still astounded at how paralyzed so many people are by not starting that hobby or starting that thing or doing the thing because it's like, oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to, or it would be hard, or it's just not accessible to me. And I'm like, we live in an era where everything is the most accessible to anyone ever. Like, this is the most accessible era. During COVID quarantine, I learned embroidery. I was just like, oh, find a kit online and mail order it. And I did. And it was great. And now I have this whole new appreciation for this whole art form that humanity's been doing for hundreds, if not thousands of years. I haven't studied the history of embroidery. I'm sorry. But the point is, Frank clearly, Alt, you've talked about this a lot. Frank wore so many hats in his life. Like, he did so many different things over his many years, from speech writing. I wrote a few here, but I'm sure you even know more than I do. He was a speechwriter. He farmed mushrooms on his own for fun in, I think, Washington. He was a journalist, a photojournalist. Apparently he oyster dived for a bit, and among other things. Am I missing any big ones?
Yeah, I mean, he was an environmental activist and worked in Washington, D.C. for politicians. He did a lot of different things. He invented a new kind of wind turbine.
Yeah.
He was an actual, like, he's got patented inventions that he helped make. Right.
Yeah.
He built his own little
farm. He was also an author.
Oh, what did he write?
Did you guys know that one?
He also found the time to write a few of the best known stories in Western literature as
I think I have them both here. So his two popular ones, right? Heaven Makers by Frank Herbert and the Dosadi experiment by Frank Herbert. That's what we're talking about, right?
Everyone knows those ones, yeah.
That's why Villeneuve is stopping after this. He really wants to, it was all of this. The first three movies were just
he's building up to the Dosadi experiment movie, still starring Timothy Chalamet for some reason.
Yeah, in every role.
I mean, I'd watch it. I'd watch
the fuck out of that.
But I bring up his many hat wearings because, and before we were recording, you and I were talking about wearing many different hats. I can see that he's bringing some of that experience to this. You have no experience diving for oysters, and then you learn, and then you know how to do it. And you do that enough with enough different things, you learn that you can learn. And it's a lesson that some people get to later in life. It's a lesson I was very fortunate to learn very early in life. And generally, it is so beneficial to see the world as this like buffet of opportunities. And I think that idea of Muad'Dib learning quickly because he knew how to learn, he trusted that he could learn, and that big thesis, I think, is so powerful. So I just as a PSA for people out there, if you end up with extra bandwidth, between like doom scrolling and whatever on your phones, try out a new foreign hobby. Just literally try it. Like, it's so healthy to have a little creative hobby, do some video editing, make some music, do something for fun. Because I feel like a lot of Frank's books can double as like a call to action for certain philosophies or certain beliefs. Don't fall for populist leaders and stuff like that. But also embrace the joy of living and find those ask the questions and be curious and enjoy and find beauty and be in love. Like, those are things that I clearly believe strongly in. And I like this quote a lot for kind of encapsulating that a bit.
Yeah, this one has always resonated with me as well.
Mm. So that's my first quote. Let's toss it back to you, Alt. I see a couple more that you've got here. What do you want to hit us with next?
Yeah, hit us with the next one.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I love a lot of those quotes at the start of chapters in Dune, like that learning one, because I feel like in those quotes, Frank often just breaks character and is just like yelling at the reader directly, like it's kind of dropping the pretense of, oh, this is a fictional story.
Hey guys, Frank Herbert here.
Hi, Frank here. Now, here's what you need to do, Sonny Jim. You need to go out and learn embroidery, because like that quote
Don't
about
forget to
learning.
Smash that like button. Hit the notification bell.
I was going to say, like, you can learn something new. This episode was sponsored by Brilliant. You can go and learn coding today at Brilliant using code GOMJABAR.
Excellent. Not a real code. Don't try it.
Yeah, so Frank sometimes breaks character because, like, the fiction is a device to send a message, but every now and then Frank just sort of grabs us by the shoulders and shakes us because he feels like we are, sometimes we are too dense to actually understand what Frank's trying to say, because in our defense, Frank is sometimes a little bit circuitous. He's a little bit abstract, he's a little bit dense. So every now and then, like I feel like each Dune sequel is often just attempting to clarify the message of the previous book.
Wait. I had more things. I forgot something. I forgot something.
And one more thing. And so, like, Dune 1 is about how the heroic leader Paul is a disaster, and then the second Dune book is Frank saying, no, but really, that's like, really, it's not good that he's the emperor. He's like Hitler, guys. Like Timothy Chalamet is like Hitler. Like, that's what the second book is.
He's blind superhero Hitler.
And then the third book is about, like, oh, we've got to create a god emperor to, shepherd the human race through oppression. And most people reading that are like, huh? So then Frank wrote an entire fourth book, which is grabbing us by the shoulders and saying, this is what I mean by a tyrant who rules, and this is why it's meaningful.
I love that. Yeah.
You're so right, Alt. Yeah.
So this quote is from Children of Dune, and it's a speech by the preacher. And the preacher is, in fact, secretly Paul Atreides, who survived his apparent death in the second book, Dune Messiah. And so this is a sermon that the preacher gives, where I feel like it's basically Frank Herbert as a self-insert character. I feel like the preacher is basically Frank. He's an irate old man yelling about philosophy.
Yeah.
For all of us who are too dense to get the subtext in the previous books. And so the preacher says, abandon certainty. That's life's deepest command. That's what life is all about. We are a probe into the unknown, into the uncertain. Why can't you hear Muad'Dib? If certainty is knowing absolutely an absolute future, then that's only death disguised. Such a future becomes now. He showed you this. So I love the frustration in this quote.
Yeah.
Like, the preacher is saying, don't you get it? Like, don't you get what Paul was trying to say in the previous 2 Dune books? What he's trying to say is that we must not get sucked into any narrow-minded way of thinking. Mm-hmm. We must not get limited by dogma of any kind. The dogma of political fervor, of religious fervor, of ecological ideology, of like technological thinking, or of prescience. Like, I was quite confused when I was first reading Dune, and there's all this talk about prescient visions of the future, and I'm like, why are we talking about magical future sight? Like, why is this relevant to this philosophical book? And I think the prescient visions are a metaphor for plans and assumptions and ideology and assuming that things will happen the way that you think, which is something that all of us do. And so I think that what the preacher is saying here is that, you know, not only is that narrow-minded thinking destructive, but it's also boring, because if you truly could control and predict the future, what's the point of living the future if you already know it? So it's not only an intellectual argument warning us against assumptions and planning and narrow-minded thinking, it's also an emotional argument of, if we truly could know and control the future, there would be no joy in it. Because joy for Frank comes from discovery and learning and surprises and all of that learning, discovery stuff that we were just talking about. Right, so I love this moment where Frank just shouts at us and just sort of says his thesis in a really direct way.
It's crazy that it was all caps in the book. Like, I thought that was like such a bold choice. But also from a character perspective, like, I can't help but think about Paul thinking about Chani in that moment as the preacher, going, I saw the future and I was certain of it, and that was her death. Such a future becomes now. It is so tragic, and it's so heartbroken, and it's so frustrated, because he knows that he traded the universe for Chani. And now he's pissed that no one took his word seriously when he was the revered, supposedly head of this massive religion and empire. It's brilliant. And that's so true. Frank just about writes, signed Frank Hurt. No, scratch it out. Signed the preacher. That's what the preacher was saying, not me, not I.
Yeah.
This quote does have the feeling of an all caps tweet, for sure.
Wait, hold on. How many characters are we talking here? 1, 2, 3.
Oh, that's the best way to count the characters, for sure.
Wait, you guys don't one by one?
2, 3.
Is there a better way?
Wait, I lost count. Start over. And 1, 2.
Wait, I got to restart my typewriter. My typewriter's glitching, guys. Can we start?
I say a tweet, but since Frank Herbert was born in 1920, this is a bit more of like a photocopy fax on a floppy disk or something, which hits different, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was all caps into his floppy disk, and no one got it.
Yeah. Such a great quote, though, Alt, and I love your interpretation of the quote. Preacher certainly feels like a stand-in for Frank Herbert to get his ideas more directly to the reader, deliver them more directly to the reader through the vehicle of a character speaking to other characters in the story. And I love your analysis and breakdown of this quote and why it's so impactful. It so very much supports the big themes in the Dune saga, these warnings against dogma and the celebration of the new and unexpected, and how that is, in Frank Herbert's eyes, the joy of life, and the only reason to live life is to experience those new and unexpected things.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful quote that's so in line with all the themes in Dune.
It's really struck me recently how much the last 3 books, like the first couple of books, there are all these layers, right? And the deeper down you get, there are these sorts of like warnings and messages. The last 3 books really do seem to be a call to action about joy and love and like the meaning of life and like the kind of some really basic things, but things that become all the more important, especially as Frank was going through his own life as someone who was getting older. And then Beverly passed away, I think shortly before Heretics was published. I think that's the timeline. But his call to action becomes so much more just kind of like live, be well. There's a few quotes I wanted to pull that I ended up not, but that were about just like life is about like you just have to live. You just have to be the one living.
Yeah.
You can't be passive, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that part of the context is the death of Frank's wife, Bev, because Frank really did struggle to go on living after his beloved wife died. Yeah. And there is so much of that in Chapter House and Heretics as well. And, I think through the character of Adrade and her journey coming to terms with love and emotion, because those books explore how the sisterhood of the Bene Gesserit are taught to never love and are taught to not indulge in emotions because they must be harsh and cold and logical. But Adrade concludes that no, like that there's no point if you're going to be completely cold. You must embrace your humanity and your emotion and your love, or else why are we doing all this? And that's a theme that is grappled with by the God Emperor Leto and Hui, and that's grappled with by Jessica and Thufir right at the very start of the series. So I love how that is explored throughout the series.
Yeah. Dune is so often referred to as a book that's steeped in philosophy and religion and politics, but I think this message does so often get overshadowed that it is also a very human book that is about love and what it means to live and love and be human. And you're so right, Alt, and Leo, you touched on this too. Like, many of the characters are essentially, when you boil it down and take away all of the religion, politics, dogma, manipulation, backstabbing, it is characters struggling to figure out how to live and love at the end of the day.
Also, how to, if only there was another verb, laugh a little, like, like if only, I mean, that's the biggest takeaway, I believe.
That's the biggest takeaway.
Man, we should do merch. Kind of a love, laugh, live,
Yeah.
Love, snort spice.
Snort spice.
There we go.
That's so much better. It doesn't alliterate, but it's great.
Yeah, let's get that engraved on a piece of driftwood, I think, Leo. Let's figure out how we can make that happen.
Sell it on our Etsy page.
live, laugh, melange.
Hey, okay, we're getting there.
Wow, Alt, you should be holding on to these ideas. You're throwing freebies out there.
Hey, I'm getting 33% of the merch takings, right?
Deal.
Absolutely fair deal.
Quick deal. Yeah. Okay. Oh my God. We are going to take a quick break, but please, listener, don't go anywhere. When we're back, we've got more Dune quotes for you. That's why you clicked play, and we're jumping back in just a minute.
All right, welcome back, folks. Let's continue working through our list of deep cut Dune quotes that resonate with us. Leo, how about we hop to you next for your second quote that you wanted to share?
Sure. So my second quote, oh my God. Yeah, my second quote comes from God Emperor of Dune. And I think I even shared this in an episode recently, but it really is one of my favorite little moments because it's also one of the few times that Leto basically acknowledges that he has grown and has kind of like changed his philosophy a little bit, or that he's matured as a character, which feels so rare. Like Leto too feels like the moment he becomes the God Emperor in Children of Dune, in some ways it feels like he is just that for the whole rest of the book. And he, similar to Paul as the preacher, kind of knows that the end is coming, doesn't exactly know the specifics, but is just kind of resigned to it. So the fact that he acknowledges that he grew it all sticks with me. But in particular, I think this quote's really powerful. Leto is speaking to Malky and Moneo about the earlier statement. So the earlier statement is, quote, "The present is distraction, the future a dream. Only memory can unlock the meaning of life," end quote. And it sounds beautiful. Again, great driftwood engraving right over the couch. Everyone's loving it. They're like, oh my God.
This was like pinned on his Tumblr page for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
It's like on an Instagram image in a really nice font, and it's got 100,000 likes.
Yeah, everyone retweets. There's just like they retweet it from Instagram. It's crazy. Yeah. But he says, hey, isn't that nice? But then he goes, no, but I was kind of full of shit. Here's the quote. Quote, "My words were a foolish lie. I knew it at the time, but I was infatuated with the beautiful words. No, memory unlocks no meanings. Without anguish of the spirit, which is a wordless experience, there are no meanings anywhere. End quote. I just love that idea. There's another quote that I think gets thrown around a lot, which is it's difficult to live in the present, pointless to live in the future, and impossible to live in the past. Another banger, another great quote. That's from God Emperor as well. He must have been on his mind at the time. So that quote, right? I think for me, a lot of like God Emperor, Heretics, and Chapter House start really looking at epistemology as a whole, kind of on a cosmic scale. Like, what is truth in a universe dominated by orders that have memories that stretch back literally tens of thousands of years, in this world where so many people have a pretty proper claim to like, I've got the truth on my side. What does it mean to have the truth on your side? And who's writing the history books, even as the history books are like living, breathing beings walking around next to you? And I love that. I love not only the limitations of language, and I love that as something to think about and engage with, but also from like a historical standpoint. I'm going to hit you with a bonus quote.
Hello.
Quote, throughout our history, the most potent use of words has been to round out some transcendental event, giving that event a place in the accepted chronicles, explaining the event in such a way that ever afterward we can use those words and say, this is what it meant. End quote. Again, the idea that history is this sort of narrative that we've spun, and when you get so lost in it, you get so caught up in it, that is a form of dogma and a form of stagnation and a form of not seeking out the new and the mysterious. And that also ties into one of the themes we've been talking about today, the wordless truth, and love and life and being human. I love it. I mean, I think God Emperor of Dune was one of the first books where I was like highlighting almost every page. I had something highlighted because there was a lot there that I found beautiful and also ironic, because Frank's life as an author is so defined by the words he's weaving that for him to cast such disparaging ideas on like, oh, it's just words. Words are bullshit. Don't worry about it. Live a wordless life in the present, in the immediate now. And you go, but aren't you a fucking author? You wrote Dasadi Experiment and Heaven Makers, among others, I've heard.
Yeah, I love the irony that Frank Herbert is a writer who distrusts words. Because Frank loved writing and speaking, and he read poetry, and he was a great conversationalist. He loved nothing better than yapping.
Truly. Great A.
But in the same way that Frank was distrustful of any system that limits our thinking, such as religion, technology, politics, language is another one. And he was influenced by concepts of general semantics, and a lot of intellectuals at the time who argued that language is yet another system that limits the way that you think. And so Dune is full of the dangers of language being used and abused through, powers like the voice and the language of religion, the way that language intersects with all those other different kinds of power structures. So I love how, Frank, he loves words, but he also repeatedly tells us that sometimes you just got to go out into the desert and take some acid, or, sometimes you just got to chill out and, experience something.
Right.
Because he talks, as you said, Leo, a lot about wordless truths that must be experienced, that cannot be explained with words.
Yeah.
Yeah. The like wordless camaraderie that he and Chenoweth had in a moment in God Emperor of Dune is also one that like really sticks out to me. Yeah. Wordless experiences. They're all over when you start looking for them.
Yeah. I think your bonus quote, Leo, also resonates with me. I'm a bit of a history buff, and I really like that in the latter books, Frank starts really exploring this idea, especially through Leto 2, who really embodies all of, quote unquote, all of human history, right, within himself. I really love when Frank starts asking the questions of why humans write history the way they do, what it means to them, what it means to write the history in that way, and why there is this human tendency to create sort of neat narratives, right? We want easy cause and effect so that we can look back at things and go, that explains that. Okay, that makes sense. We figured that one out. There's this like innate human desire to do that with historical events. And I really love that Frank pushes the reader to question that to some extent, right? To ask, what more was there to this history that was never written down, perhaps?
Mm-hmm.
What was never recorded here, that was never captured in the words on the page, never captured by a historian? Leto out here is burning historians left and right, as we're told in God Emperor.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do think there is some validity to asking, this is what we know about this history. How do we also understand this in the context of what we don't know about this history? And hold both of those truths in our minds at the same time.
Mm.
That, to me, is a really powerful message around historical thinking and examination. Again, some irony here, considering how much Frank leans on history and tradition from the research that he does for these books.
It's interesting that the fourth book, God Emperor of Dune, is itself framed as a historical artifact because we have the journals of Leto being stolen by the rebels.
Yeah.
And so, in a sense, the entire book itself is a historical artifact of people trying to understand that one weird time in history that a giant worm ruled the universe for 3,000 years. And that's one of the cool things about the series, is that it stretches over millennia. And so the series is constantly reflecting not only on how we define the future, but also how we define the past.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh my God, what a great call out. Also, the epigraphs, where he's grabbing us by the shoulders and screaming at us, always delivered through the framework of an in-universe character who said this or wrote this in a book, or said, which adds, of course, that extra layer. We talk about this with the Dune Encyclopedia all the time. Why is this being communicated? Why would Irulan have written this down?
Yeah.
And that adds a whole new layer of speculation and life to these words that aren't just coming at us from this kind of third-person omniscient voice. It's coming from the universe, from the characters who have their motivations and might want to say, you know, Irulan might be the character to say, as she does famously, and I think one of the last epigraphs of Dune, that you might praise Muad'Dib, but remember, he's the one that puts the skin of his enemies as drum skins. You know, she might be one to say, all right, let's pump the fanfare a bit. It's getting out of hand. This guy killed a lot of people. Like, let's be clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Oh my God. As a historical document, that's such a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dune from the start is placed in a historical context because of those quotes, which tell us that, Yue is the traitor and Leto is going to die and Muad'Dib will ascend. So from the very beginning, we're looking at Dune backwards from the future at the events of Dune as historical events. Like, dude created a fictional historiography, a whole set of historical books that don't exist. Like, bloody Jorge Borges over here is making up fictional books in order to contextualize the actual fictional book that he's writing.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little bit Tolkien-esque, the way that he creates this.
But he hates historians.
but also he will burn historians.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's brilliant. It really is.
Oh, I love it. Well, so, okay. That was my second quote. Abu,
Yeah.
you've been holding out on us. What's your second quote?
Okay. I have two here, and I got to decide which one to go with.
They're both bangers.
They are both good. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to punt one by just sharing it and moving on quickly.
Okay.
I have one here from God Emperor of Dune. Quote, all rebels are closet aristocrats, end quote.
Bars.
But I think we've already sort of touched on some political ideas and themes. I want to get to this other quote that I want to share because it starts talking about art, which is an idea that Leo and I simply cannot stop talking about. So this one's also from God Emperor of Dune. And this one is beautiful. Quote, you always know the creative because it is revealed openly. Concealment betrays the existence of another force entirely. End quote.
I love it. The gatekeeping versus the, yeah.
This is Leto talking about creativity and the expression of creativity and how you can tell something that is coercive or manipulative versus something that is a pure expression of human emotion or human thought, thus being a creative output from a genuine human being.
Yeah, because he's talking about like the Ixians and they're like, oh, aren't they creative because they invent a bunch of shit? And he's like, no, they've got a whole other force at play here.
Yeah.
Because they're creating, but they're hiding it and clutching at it
Yes.
with just this like bizarre, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And Leo, you and I on this podcast have at this point spent countless hours talking about the value and importance of creating art, right? Expressing yourself. I think we're both very passionate about creating. I think both of us kind of have this itch that like if we're not doing something creative, I don't know about you, I guess, but personally, like I start to get a little stir crazy. And this quote just is such a powerful reminder to me that when I pour myself into the work that I do, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a video, whether it's some piece of writing, whatever I'm creating, whatever outlet I choose, my best work is always going to be when I am open, when I am honest, when I am vulnerable on two fronts. When I am open, honest, and vulnerable with myself and what I'm putting into the art.
Huge.
And then on the delivery side of it, when I am open, honest, and vulnerable with my audience or whoever the intended receiver of that piece of art is. If I maintain that open honesty on both ends of that spectrum, that is when I create my best work. That is when I am pouring the most of myself into the art. And I typically walk away from things like that incredibly proud of the thing I've created. We recently, on the feed, released this audio drama, which was very experimental. We were both a little nervous about taking on this challenge.
Yeah, the God Emperor reading drama. Yeah, that looks awesome.
And it was, it was challenging. It took us over a month of production just to create a very small, 8-minute scene with voice actors and sound design and music and cinematic composition. But this was a challenge where I was like, let me just allow myself to like feel what I'm feeling while I'm making this. And then when I put it out into the world, I'll just tell people that like this was my goal in making this and this is how I felt making it. And it truly, I think in the 5 years of making the show, it's up there in the like top 3 things that I'm most proud we've ever created. And this quote certainly is one that stays with me from God Emperor of Dune about what it means to truly be creative.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say the sound effects, like some of the sound design you did for that it still blows me out of the park. Like I know I was a part of making it, but I'm still like, whoa, that's so good. But going back to my quote about like Leto saying his words is infatuated with beautiful words. I think that's such an experience that people who make art get wrapped up in. How much do you fall in love with the way that you deliver your ideas and your honesty? And you start going, I love my poetry. I love my words. They're so beautiful. And it's like, okay, but are you saying something now? Honestly, are you being vulnerable? Are you exploring? Are you discovering? Are you living in this present moment? Or are you performing what is safe and impressive? And like, as an artist, I get less and less interested in the like safe, impressive shit. When people are like, look at all the fucking riffs I can do as a singer. And it's like, okay, great. But sing me a song about heartbreak, dog. Like, come on, lay something on the line. Be present in this moment. Drop the riffs. I don't give a shit. It's all virtuosic anyway. I'm so with you. Unsurprisingly, again, we've talked about this 50. Alt, how do you feel about that?
I'm very curious because Alt, you're also a creative person. You're also putting out these incredible works. And I would love a little insight into what's going on in your brain when you do that.
Sure. I mean, you talked about vulnerability, Abu, in creativity. And I think words that I would add to that are sincerity and authenticity. Because as you guys said, like, it's easy to get lost in the sauce with technical accomplishments and making, intricate, highly skilled creations, whether it's in, music or writing or anything.
Yeah.
But all of that's pointless unless there's something being communicated that is felt on a human level and being able to give the listener or give the reader something that is sincere and true and vulnerable. So I agree very much with what you guys said. It's very easy to get lost in the technical side of things when you also need to give something human.
Do you have an art form that you're kind of experimenting with, or that you've done in the past that you feel good about?
Oh well, I'm Alt Shift X. All I know how to do is edit videos, right?
Well, there you go. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
You'd have to talk to my half cousin Alt Schwiftex if you wanted to see some cringy rap songs, or perhaps you've even heard of my estranged half cousin Martin Cordial, who's been known to write fiction, but I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Neither would we.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. Excellent. It's fascinating to hear from your perspective as well, because we're huge fans of what you do.
Yeah.
So we've been blabbing forever. Did you have another quote to hit us with, Alt?
Sure. Yeah. So I love Frank Herbert's collaboration and love for his wife, Bev. Bev helped Frank write and was always his editor and gave him feedback, and she wanted to be a writer herself, but she kind of sacrificed her own writing career in order to work so that Frank could write his great novels, The De Sardi Experiment and The Godmakers.
It's the only two I know.
And, Frank in interviews has talked about the importance of Bev, but he also subtly slipped something into Dune as well. So in the many lengthy appendices in Dune, there's all those long explications of religious history and etymology and ecology, and there's a little line in there that's talking about some obscure religious history that says, quote, "There is some evidence that Ohashi may have been merely the male spokesman for his second wife, Nisai." So these are two obscure historical characters who aren't really relevant, but talking about how the second wife was the real creative force behind the male spokesman, that alludes to Frank and Bev, who was Frank's second wife.
Yeah.
So I think that Frank is acknowledging here that Bev has a larger role in the creation of Dune than people may think. I also think that it's cute that the names Ohashi and Nisai, they sound kind of Japanese to my ear, which reflects a passion that Frank had for Japanese culture and language and food and everything, because Frank had a bit of a weeaboo period in the
most
60s or
definitely.
70s.
Yeah, it becomes really apparent in God Emperor of Dune, for sure.
So I'm not sure why Frank felt the need to be quite this subtle in acknowledging the contributions of his wife. Maybe he should have been a bit more direct and explicit in acknowledging his wife and acknowledging the sources that he drew from.
Yeah, of course.
For Dune, but I think this is a cute line.
Beautiful call out. I love that.
Yeah. And actually, Alt, you have one last quote here in the script that I see. This to me feels like a really beautiful note to end on. Do you want to share this one?
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, we've talked a lot about philosophy and creativity and technology and politics and religion and the dangers thereof, and language and time and etymology and epistemology and drugs and drop bears. But the final book, the year before Frank's death, he uses the main character, Atreides, to say, after all of that, it's good to be alive. Remember that. And I think that's a reminder that Frank's telling to himself, and it's a reminder that he's telling us, and it's connected to all that stuff we said about, you can't just deny emotions and deny love. You have to just revel in the joys of being alive. And so none of the philosophy, none of the politics means anything unless we remember to enjoy and treasure being alive together.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
A beautiful message at the heart of these stories.
Also, just from the best character to deliver that message, like Odrade, with her background of having Sea Child, this like core innocence and love and attachment to her foster parents, and like that thing that the Bene Gesserit could never get rid of. The fact that she is the one that delivers that is also just so fucking powerful and so beautiful. That's such a great call out. What a good quote. It's so much better than Fear is the Mind Killer, man.
I can't believe we did a whole episode about Dune quotes and we didn't say the mystery of life isn't a problem to solve, but a reality to experience.
That's a good one.
Because that's kind of the same message as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I almost legitimately prefaced everything I said with like, my favorite quotes from Dune change day to day based on like whatever book I've read most recently, and it just continues to evolve. I go back, I reread, I discover new ones. I have, if you're game, fellas, a lightning round, because I do know somewhere out there, dear listener, has a quote in mind, and they're so bummed that we didn't say it.
Yeah.
It's not Fear is the Mind Killer. Listeners who are hoping for that, you're wrong. You're wrong and bad. So I have some lightning round
You're
ones.
bad.
Oh my god.
You're wrong and bad.
Leo. My god.
Try harder. Try harder, listener. Come on. Every time on a Reddit thread, long list, someone's like, my favorite fears. I'm like, oh, okay. Ick. So lightning round ones. Now, I just gathered these.
Yeah.
Looking at the list, do any of these jump out at y'all?
Yes, I'd like to start.
Please.
Here's my favorite one from this lightning round list that you gathered. Here we go.
Yeah.
It was only when she saw the rope come snaking down that Nayla had her orgasm.
Yo, sing, girl. That guy climbs rocks well.
Oh boy.
What a good moment.
Oh my god.
I think it's funniest if we just don't contextualize
No.
that at all.
Yeah. Just a great moment in
Those
a
who
book.
know. Yeah,
Just a very normal moment in a very normal book.
Listen, another normal moment from another normal book. There was an adult beef swelling in his loins.
Hello.
And he felt his mouth open, holding, clinging to the girder shape of ecstasy. Then, with a sigh, a lingering ground swelling, so many swellings, sweetness, a collapse. End quote. No context. You're welcome.
Wow. I too have
Beef
collapsed after
swelling.
hearing that quote.
Beef swelling.
And girder shape are both crimes against the English language.
Literally.
Okay,
Wild.
everyone show your beef swelling tattoos on 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
This guy has more Hugo Awards than we ever will.
Yeah.
Frank
true.
Beef Swelling Herbert. My god.
That's right.
Do any of these jump out at you all?
Yeah. I mean, how long have we got? I mean, one thing that I feel very strongly in the year of our Lord 2025 is this line about the dangers of AI that Frank wrote in the 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
Quote, "What do such machines really do? They increase the number of things we can do without thinking. Things we do without thinking. There's the real danger."
My
And-
God. My God,
Yeah.
Emperor. Such a great quote.
And obviously, you know, we're living in a time where generative AI is being pushed on us by all of the most powerful corporations in the world. And what do these tools do? They make us do more things with less thought. And that might be a really bad idea.
Yeah. Maybe not the trade-off we want to be making as the human race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, great point there. We talked about that a lot recently in a Dune and artificial intelligence episode, and just he was a little bit of pressing himself, I think, almost like those drop bears. So as we sort of wrap up, we want to give you a chance, Alt, to plug your, I mean, again, I would be shocked if our listeners didn't already know you, but I would love for you to introduce yourself. Where can people find what you've got going on? Do you have something you're working on right now you're proud or excited about that you want to plug? This is your time, please. We would love for you to spread the word.
Sure. Yeah, well, we've got videos about Dune and A Song of Ice and Fire and many other series on YouTube, the channel AltShiftX, and you're welcome to check them out. And we do have videos about Dune in the works. We're also going to be making videos about the Game of Thrones spin-off shows that are coming next year. So yeah, you're welcome to come check it out. But look, I'm just happy to be here on the Gom Jabbar podcast. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
an absolute treat. And it's always a joy to really speak to someone who's kind of on the same crazy train as me and Leo have been for 5 years on this podcast.
Yeah.
You know, someone who's like, yeah, I get it. There's something with this Frank guy.
You might be onto something. Yeah, no, it's a special thing to get to talk to some other folks who have been through the trenches and have also worked through Heretics and Chapter House, and they know their chair dogs from their futars, and they've really put some thought into what's going on in this crazy series. So yeah, absolute pleasure to yap with you guys.
Yeah, what a joy. Thanks so much for joining us, Alt.
And we'll have to do it again very, very soon. And, you know, we talked about it. It'd be fun to like collaborate on a thing from the ground up. It'd be really cool. It'd be cool to do sometime.
I'd love to.
Hell yeah. Love to hear that. Well, dear listener, before we let you go, we want to remind you of some great ways to support the show and to keep in touch with us. And the two best ways hasn't changed. One is to become a patron over at patreon.com/GomJabar. Second, you can check out our Dune themed swag merchandise store. Those links are in the show notes, and we got some new merchandise cooking. So don't forget. You can do that.
Live, laugh, melange.
Live, laugh, melange.
Laugh, melange.
Coming to a merch store near you.
Coming to a hand-carved wooden driftwood salvage soon to you. Yeah.
Also, a quick reminder here at the end, folks. We'd love to hear from you. So email us, gomjabarpodcast@gmail.com is the best place to get in touch. Send us your thoughts. Send us your questions. Send us pictures of your cute pets. Send us, of course, your favorite quotes in the Dune universe and why they resonate with you so strongly.
Please, yeah.
If your email contains Fear as the Mind Killer, Leo will dox you, so watch out for that.
The next episode's all doxes. I'm just going to go down the list.
We're going to go down the list
one at a time.
Everyone who emailed us, Fear as the Mind Killer, watch out. Next episode's going to be wild. gomjabarpodcast@gmail.com. That's a place to get in touch and stay in touch.
Like and subscribe to the Gomjabar podcast.
Hey! That's my new ringtone.
You're going to put the voice filter on that, right?
Yeah.
The Bene Gesserit voice.
That's
Like
right.
and subscribe to the Gomjabar podcast.
Exactly. But whenever I use the voice filter, I just make my voice sound like yours. So I'm just like, I sound like all chipped X, and people go, wow, I'm learning so much, but in like an entertaining way. This is great.
I'm just trying to make my voice sound like Leo's.
And I've been trying to sound like Abu for 5 years, and it's still not working. It's so annoying.
Yeah, it's not.
One
Keep
day.
trying.
Thank you for the honest feedback.
Well, friends, there is no real ending. It's just the place where you stop the recording. But this podcast is always one step beyond logic, so help spread the word of Muad'Dib and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And be sure to check out the other shows on the Lore Party Podcast Network on loreparty.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at @lore_party. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, whoever controls the podcast controls the universe. We'll see you on the Golden Path.